AITA for saying no to my nephew using my late son's college fund instead. My wife and I, 36 female, 37 male, lost our son Ryan 3 years ago when he was 11. Before he was born, my wife's parents gave us a large sum to start up on his college fund, and we've been putting money on the side for years so that he can use it once he went to college. Unfortunately, he never got the chance and we haven't touched that money since. It's taken time, but with a lot of therapy, we made peace with our loss. We have even started talking about trying to have another baby next year. My sister and her family came to our house Sunday morning and we were talking about my nephew Steven now being in his last year of HS. It brought up questions about what his plans were after graduating, and he said college, though he's not sure what he wants to study. When my nephew wasn't around, my sister mentioned they have been worrying about how they'll afford college for him. His GPA is average and he doesn't do any activities outside of his studies, so they say they don't think he'll have much of a chance with scholarships. He'll have to rely on student loans and financial aid. My sister mentioned Ryan's college fund and how it would be a huge help if Steven got that for himself. We were caught off guard and didn't know what to say. With talks about having a baby, we decided we wouldn't touch that money for now and had to tell her no. We explained weren't sure if we want to use that money for future baby expenses, or if maybe that will be our child's college fund to use in the future. My sister became upset and felt it wasn't fair we were keeping this money all for a hypothetical child when my nephew is an actual living person who will benefit from it. She said we won't struggle financially with a new child since we both earn a good income, and we can always save more money, which is true, but there's no guarantee we'll always be making the same income with the state of the world, and at least that money is there now. She kept pushing this to the point where it was becoming an argument. What struck a nerve was when my sister said it's not like anyone else is using that money right now. I don't know why it bothered me. I suppose it's the way she casually mentioned my son no longer being with us. My wife was growing uncomfortable with the whole thing, so I firmly said no, and that's the end of it. There was tension after, and my sister was in a sour mood until they left. I later received a message from her later on stating how selfish she thinks we are being, and she thought we would help Steven since we claim to love him so much, yet won't help him provide for his future. I didn't want to get into it with her and decided not to respond, but I still keep reading her text. Are we in any way being assholes here? We do love Steven and want him to succeed, but we had already agreed that money would be used for our future child. It's all very conflicting and hard not to feel guilty over our choices. Story 2. AITA for refusing to replenish a college trust for my deceased husband's affair child. Throwaway account. I, 52 female, am in an unusual situation and need an outside perspective but want to maintain my anonymity. 18 years ago it was revealed, at my husband's funeral, he had a pregnant mistress, 40 female. Obviously I didn't just take the woman's word for it and stated that she wouldn't get a cent until there was a DNA test. When it was proven true, I was devastated but agreed to set up a trust for the child for college, and agreed to let them live in one of my rental properties in a good area rent-free until her child was 18. She had to pay for utilities. She agreed, and I made it clear that I wasn't going to do anything else for her or the child. I also made it clear that I wouldn't take on the responsibility of fostering a relationship between our children, and that it would be my husband's side of the family's job. Fast forward 12 years and the mistress' child got sick and needed medical treatment. She didn't have enough money for what insurance wouldn't cover and reached out to me for support. I reminded her what our original agreement was and to borrow money from relatives for assistance. She said her credit wasn't good enough for a loan at the time and she didn't have anyone who she could borrow the money from. When I wasn't budging, she got upset and accused me of being a monster for not helping a child in need. I reminded her that I already helped her child by setting up a college trust, but she could use some of that money for the costs if she really needed it. She agreed and her child pulled through. Now that the child is 18 and intending to go to college in the fall of 2021, the mistress reached out to me about the trust and was upset when she found out that the amount was much less than what was originally agreed upon. I reminded her it was less because some of the money was used for the medical bills and that I never said I would put the money back in. I also informed her that I was going to start charging her rent the following year, and she would need to pay or move out. I didn't care that she was upset because I was always straightforward about the situation, but now my MIL and SIL are starting to say that it's unfair to the child. I don't see it that way because the mistress had at least 6 more years to figure something out, so AITA. Edit. Thank you so much for giving out your opinions and advice so far. However, I do see some reoccurring comments and questions, so I wanted to give more info just in case it changes your stance. I am an American and live in the United States. My husband and I were in our 32nd and he died in an accident, so there was no will. We were strong middle class but not rich. My husband a life insurance policy that named me as the primary beneficiary, and then our children, a house that wasn't paid off yet, $20,000 worth of his own savings, and 2 cars that was both in our names but also wasn't paid off at the time of his death. His mistress could have sued, but it wouldn't have been much. The rental property that I let her stay in was an inheritance from my side of the family that was solely in my name, so my husband had no legal ownership of at the time of his death. My 1,049 and still don't know the full details, but they know I have enough money to the point where I could pay for the mistress child to go to a decent 4-year school and not miss it, even during this pandemic. They on the other hand can't. Edit 2, also forgot to mention that because my husband died in an accident that I got some money for that too. Story 3, AITA for cutting my financially sister off when I found out that I was the only sibling paying for her. I have 3 siblings. I am the eldest. My youngest sister is the only one of us who didn't attend college. She got pregnant and dropped out few months into college. I live in another state and see them only a couple of times a year. I am not really close to any of them. My sister fell into deep financial shit after the guy took off, and the baby, B, had a ton of medical issues that she couldn't afford. In the end, she moved in with my parents. Me and the other siblings decided to pitch in some money each month to help the youngest sister. At first, they told me that since I earn the most, I should contribute more. I firmly said that I will contribute what everyone else is going to contribute. They agreed. It's been a year, and recently my youngest sister reached out to me and said that she needed money urgently because B needed in surgery the next month. I was a little perplexed. B hasn't been to the hospital for the past 2 months, and the money from those 2 months from all of us should have been more than enough to cover the surgery. I kept pointing this out and asked her what happened to the money. She kept saying that money got used up. At this point, I told her that she was gonna have to show me some bills, and she broke down saying that I am the only one who is giving her money, and my parents. My other siblings asked her to keep that a secret from me. They decided that I am the one who should pay for everything because I earn more and I am child-free while the others are not. None of my siblings have kids, but they want to prepare for the future while I don't have to because I am not going to have children. So for the past year, I am the only one who has been helping. What's worse, every time she needed X amount of money, she would call me and tell me that she needed 3x money and tell me that my siblings already paid their share. I was so pissed off when she confessed. I immediately hung up on her and refused to talk to any of them after that. This literally happened a few days ago. I haven't sent any money this month or for the surgery. Everyone obviously thinks I am the asshole. I told my siblings that until they match what I have paid last year, they aren't going to see another cent from me. My siblings told me that they cannot afford that much right now and begged me to continue paying, or at the very least, pay for another year so everyone can figure something else out. I refuse to. AITA here.